really quick.
Okay.
All
Um,
right, let me share my screen. Perfect. Here we go. Can everyone see my screen okay?
mhm.
All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brandon Hinckley. I'm an AmeriCorps Vista serving at Get Healthy, Utah. Today, we'll be talking about how communities can improve access to healthy foods. And we'll have a couple of guest speakers today to share some real life examples. So first, one way cities and towns can support healthy food access is by becoming a healthy Utah community. This designation recognizes communities that are committed to improving active living, access to healthy food, and mental health. And also the next deadline to apply is March 1st. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to email us. You can also find more information on our website. The link is just at the bottom there of the slide if you guys can see that. And just a couple of requirements to apply really quick. So first, we must get a letter of commitment, which is just a letter from the mayor expressing the community's interest in the designation. Second is the Health Coalition. So you need at least 4 members who meet quarterly to discuss health initiatives. Number 3, we got identify health strategies. So cities and towns must implement strategies in 3 key areas, which are active living, access to healthy food, and mental health. The numbers of strategies required do depend on the city's population size, which can be found on our website. And then last, we have the community health plan. So you just must develop a 3-year health plan when applying for the designation. Then for redesignation, communities must implement an additional strategy. The strategies do depend on the size of the population once again, which can be found on our website. And if you want that information, there's our website at the bottom, so feel free to check it out. And we also do have this list of amazing options for access to healthy food. So a couple that I like personally, establish a community garden, create an edible park and food forest, and encouraging the menu labeling with nutrition facts. So feel free to take a look at these ideas. I think they have some great ideas involved here. And here we go. So many cities have, or sorry, not many cities, I apologize. One thing about access to healthy foods, there are 3 key factors we want to take a look at here on the screen. So availability, affordability, and variety. So for availability, we want to ask, are there grocery stores or fresh food options available, or is your community dominated by fast food? For affordability, are there low-cost options such as community gardens or fruit trees that will make fresh food available? And for variety, does your main street or local business district offer a variety of healthy food options? As you think about improving food access in your community, I encourage you to reflect on these 3 factors. And here are our speakers for today's webinar. So first we're gonna go with Tooele. That's gonna be a Darwin Cook. He is the Director of Parks and Recreation. He's gonna be talking about the edible park and fruit trees that Tooele has implemented. And then next we're gonna have Maria Jose from Moab. She's an extension assistant professor. Um, she's going to be talking about the youth-led garden program and cooking classes, community kitchens, and access to sustainable native plants. So I'm going to turn the time over to Darwin Cook from Tooele City. And here we go.
Okay, perfect.
Darwin, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Just it looks like I'm projecting my sound, so I'll just continue unless somebody says I'm not. So with us, how this started for us is we had several requests here over the last about 2 years for space for a community garden and also for an urban orchard. We, as our tree board met, we kind of discussed a couple of these options, especially for the urban orchard, and we thought at that time we had the best location identified for the urban orchard. Are unfortunate with our community garden that we actually did have about 6 years ago. Our property was sold, and so we lost that location. We just haven't been able to find a location for that community garden. So we moved started focusing more on our urban orchard plan, where we could do that at. We have a park that we're actually putting phase 3 into place right now. We'd originally designed in that phase 3 that our urban orchard would be there. However, once we started planning the other amenities, we soon realized that we didn't have as much room as we hoped to. Our goal is we want our urban orchard to have about 60 trees. Our tree board has encouraged us to plant mostly apple, pear, peach, and plum trees. The main reason why is because they're not as messy and they're a little easier to maintain and to manage. They're a little hardier getting going as well, apple tree being the best to get going, and then the others kind of following behind that. So as we started working through that, realizing that wasn't going to materialize as fast as we wanted to, one of our other programs that we offer is that we have 2 tree offerings every year. So one in the spring and one in the fall. We've chosen those times because obviously that's really the best time to plant trees. The second go around, which would technically have been our 4th tree offering, the tree board recommended that in fall let's try to offer some fruit trees to the public. So this flyer that's on your screen now is that offering. So we decided in fall we would offer the trees, and we did offer 60 fruit trees. So of those 15 of each of those varieties, we had a different variety of both the the apple, the pear, and the peach. We actually offered a couple varieties of each of those types of species, but it was very successful. I can report back that the offering actually filled up in 15 minutes. So once we posted, the offering was consumed in 15 minutes. We do offer a standby, and just in case some people may thought they were ready for a fruit tree, but they ended up not being ready. So we do offer it to the standby list, and it was very successful. We are still continuing with our fruit tree plan, our urban orchard, and we do believe we have found a location now. Our goal was we wanted to find a park that this wasn't a starter project and then the park was going to be developed into something else. We want this to be the permanent location for this, because if you know anything about fruit trees, establishing it is the major headache of that, right? The first 3 years, you've got to put a lot of effort into it. So we actually did, for a trial, we actually went out and planted 3 fruit, well, actually technically 5. So 3 fruit trees in one location and 2 at another. And our goal of that is just to find out what environmental impacts we're going to have, trying to get those first 3 years out of our way. We have wildlife moving into our town, mostly the deer. So you kind of have to mitigate that. We did plant these 5 trees by places where there's heavy patron usage, both by kids at a park and by golfers. And so we kind of wanted to see what the impact of that would be. All 5 trees are in their, a set of them are in their full complete year, and the other set's going into their 3rd year. So next year, the 3rd set we'll leave fruit on those trees to see what they produce, and then just kind of manage that. This next year, we're actually going to start prepping the ground for the trees and getting that ready so that hopefully in next fall, we can actually plant the urban orchard. We are a Tree City USA, so we do our celebrations around planting tree. We don't necessarily celebrate Arbor Day on the last Friday of April, but we do it later in the year just because the snow or winters tend to carry on a little bit. And one of our celebrations will be planting those trees. part of our plan with our urban orchard is, so we have a community engagement department that we will, we're going to partner with the Utah State Extension. They run an excellent master gardening course out here. We're going to partner with them to do a class on, have them manage a class on pruning the trees. And so every year they'll offer that class. They'll have people in their gardening master class come and work on pruning the trees, properly care of the trees in those first years and ongoing. And then at the harvest time, our community engagement division will offer a family event, a harvest event. So what we do is we just offer, just like we do our tree offering, we'll offer a harvest event. Families can sign up and then they can come to that event and harvest any of the trees or anything that they want off the trees. And so that's kind of how we're going to try to bring the community involved into this. But our main goal right now is just managing the process of getting the urban orchard started and operated. And again, our goal 60 trees, 60 plus trees. We at least wanted 15 of each species, just so that we felt that one wouldn't take up an excessive amount of property, but then still have a good supply of, you know, desirable fruit that people would want. So I think, and again, like I said, we have a really good working relationship with Utah State. And they're all on board. We just have to get our plan carried out and in motion, and then they'll be there to support it. So, any questions?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it'll be awesome when we get there. And again, I should mention too, the groups that were requesting this. Most of them was interesting. Most of them were community youth groups that wanted to participate in something like that for their families. So. A scouting group, a local scouting group that's still here in Tooele, and we have a very active Boys and Girls Club. They were participating in it, and I think it's called the 360 Ministries. They were also interested in a community garden, community urban orchard location, so that they could have their youth involved in that type of a process. So. Any questions? Brandon, Alyssa, anything else you think I need to mention?
Really fast, who did you say came and talked to your community about the trees and different things like that?
So they were believe it or not, most of them were youth groups. So a scout troop, the leader, the committee of the scout group reached out to us. The Boys and Girls Club, 360 Ministries, I think is what it's called. And then I should also mention New Life Christian Church. They have a fantastic youth program here. And they just were looking for a place. A lot of those, not all of them, but they do serve some underprivileged children. And they have those families that are just looking for activities. They really want physical, outdoorsy type program, parts of the program that they can sponsor, or they can well, I shouldn't say sponsor, but support.
Yeah, I think if there are any questions, feel free to put them in the chat as well if you don't want to come off mute. And then if you need to process or think through, then we'll have a question answer after Maria Jose as well. But any burning questions right now?
And feel free to email me as well too. Brandon and Alyssa, feel free to share my email. They can email me as well.
Awesome. Okay, I'll throw that in the chat too.
Perfect.
Okay, I think we're gonna go ahead and move on to Maria Jose from the city of Moab. And I'll turn the time over to her.
Hello, everyone. Brandon, can I share? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so let me know if you can see my presentation well. Can you see it now? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so hello everyone. Again, my name is Maria Jose Velasco. I'm a USU Extension Assistant Professor in the Grand County area. We are located in the USU Moab campus. So we are a very new designated city. We just got it last August, but Moab has been working a lot on becoming that healthy city for a long time. So that's why when we submitted the application, we saw a lot of potential to committing for the next 3 years and being motivated to do it. And that's why this program with Get Healthy Utah was amazing for us because it gives us a lot of direction. It helps us to see what we already have and what we can do better and even partner if some of us are doing the same thing with the different organizations. I'm super glad that Darwin, yeah, mentioned USU Extension because we are in most of the counties in Utah, and if not in all of them. And there are some programming that are very helpful to help cities to utilize curriculums that are already there to become designated cities or healthy cities. So just a quick overview for USU Extension. I know not everyone knows about USU Extension, and the reason why I'm starting with this is to give you an idea that this is totally different than the normal campus of USU or Utah State University. We have agriculture, food, health and wellness, gardening, and a lot of programs that go directly to the community. And that's why if some of you are here from other counties, reach out to USU Extension to help you with any of the programming that you are trying to work on. The main program that in Moab we have been focuses at USU Extension is Create Better Health. And Create Better Health is our main SNAP education program. Focus is very simple. We want people to eat healthy with what they have, right? So we help a lot with food pantries. If we need education on people that are getting their foods in food pantries, we teach them, okay, now that you have these different cans and you have this frozen food or different type of foods that the food pantries have, how can you make a healthy meal? Because we know there is a lot of stereotypes on like, probably because I'm eating from a can, I'm not eating healthy food, but still you have your vegetables in a can if you can or not, depending on how much access to foods you have. So part of the Create Better Health program, we have adult education classes, we have youth education classes, but we have a great program that it's called Create Healthy Gardens, which is very related to what it's being done in some communities. So these Create Healthy Gardens, this program, it's in collaboration with the Master Gardener programs that are part also for agriculture, part of extension, together with the health, Get Healthy or the healthy and wellness part of USU Extension. So it involves growing vegetables in community gardens and attending monthly workshops on gardening and nutrition. So here you can see some of the educational material that this type of Create Better Health curriculums have, and also the type of lessons, basic lessons that can be utilized by communities themselves. I believe that some of the hardest part to do these initiatives is the place where you will do these gardens. How can you find the land to do it? So in Moab, Moab, it's a unique community, and an advice that I give to everyone that is working on helping their cities is to understand the needs that your city has. Moab, it's a unique city because we have a lot of people working on the I would say on the industry of tourism, because it's a city that is visited a lot during high season, but also in low season, we don't have that many jobs. We have a lot of temporary jobs. We have the need of a lot of community programming while we have those low seasons of work here in Moab. So these are some key points that I think about when I apply programming from USU Extension, because I will know when people will have that availability. If I try to do something, or we try to do something in March when everyone is working 3 jobs, 2 jobs, we are not going to have community involvement. So that's an advice that I give to everyone, because every community is different. And Moab, we are a very small city too. So I imagine that the barriers for bigger cities are a little bit different. And also, we are a very diverse city too. So the Youth Garden Project, this is an amazing organization that have been doing a lot of work for a long time in Moab. USU Extension wouldn't take the credit of anything that the Youth Garden Project is doing it. We just wanted to present it to you and show you what this organization is already doing in Moab. So the Youth Garden Project cultivates healthy children's family and community through educational programs and connecting people with food from seed to the table. That's the main idea of the Youth Garden. And a new approach that they just told us about, they are now in charge of the Moab Community Garden Program, or MOCOMS, and the goal is to provide land access, which will be perfect as a partner for our healthy gardens of Create Better Health. And that's the goal that we have in the future, right? Collaborating with this Moab Community Program. They support local food security in Moab and Spanish Valley too, through the development of sustainable organic community gardens. And then it aims to create welcoming community spaces that are open and safe for people of all abilities and backgrounds. So this program, it's new. There are some spaces of land where people can grow their own foods. And this in Moab, the community is very united. So the spaces that the Youth Garden Project has, it's pretty open. The other day that I visited, I was doing a tour and I was checking everything that they have. And I asked them like, how can people get the food? And they mentioned, oh, this door is open. People can come and grab their vegetables and then they take it home. People that are low income. So for me, it's a very amazing program, and especially because it also focuses a lot in youth. And in Moab, we believe in any cities that youth are what's the future, right? If we have healthy youth, if we have youth that want to collaborate in our cities and be part of this program, it's a great approach. How do I don't know why it's not. Okay, there. So here are some of the Youth Garden Project stats that have been identified. So more than 160 more than 1,600 pounds of fresh produce distributed to low and moderate income families. 20 new varieties of plants were sold in 2023, and this is from their impact report of 2023. Also 130 plus pounds of produce, including any type of vegetables like cucumbers, tomatoes, and more, that were incorporated into the Grand County School District. Something that I really love about this program is that it's open to the schools. So schools can request classes or request time or space for the different grades to go to the youth garden. So this is an already established good youth garden, and what we're hoping with USU Extension is to have a better connection and to collaborate, so we're not duplicating efforts since we have very similar programs. Something that is great about the youth program, and something that I've not been able to attend before, but I know it's one of the amazing initiatives that they have, is Nourishing Traditions. So this provides a safe space for natives by natives. So in these events or these initiatives, the primary focus is restoring the cycles of matriarchy and perpetuating tradition for future generations through cooking and sharing ancestral foods. This is done every month at the end of the month, and then what the community from Native Americans, what they do is that they cook their foods from 3 to 5 p.m. And then 5 to 9 p.m. they share the traditional meal. So it's something very traditional that it's that they're working together with the youth garden. I don't know if anyone is putting any questions. Okay, perfect. So yeah, the youth garden received a Select Health Award a few years ago and had a video. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So this is one of their initiatives right now with Nourishing Traditions. And then here we have more of the general idea of what the youth garden does with and feed volunteer nights. You can spend time outside, meet new people, and enjoy free and nutritious meals. Again, I'm not giving justice to everything that the youth garden does as an organization here in Moab, but they're one of our mains, or the main garden project in Moab. So here, if you want to learn more about what the Youth Garden Program does, or to check the examples that you can apply in your cities. Again, there are already a set organization that has been doing this for a long time. So teamwork, for our designation in Moab, we have been working together with other organizations, and one of them has been the Southeast Utah Health Department, because we were also motivated by other cities that utilize them as one of their main stakeholders. So we have worked a lot with referrals. We know that the Southeast Health Department works a lot with vaccines or guiding people with birth certificates, etc. So they do a self-assessment or an assessment with families, and they're able to refer them to the SNAP education classes or the youth programming. So that's a way we have collaborated in USU Extension with the Southeast Health Department, and also the guidance to the different families depending on their needs they have. And the prevention of chronic diseases is something that they're doing, that it's very related to access to healthy foods and gardens, right? Because that all comes together. So the future goals, again, the approaches in Moab are great. We are already doing a lot of work, but we really want to be able to partner more between organizations. We know it's not perfect, the approach that we have right now, and we want to make it better. And that's the reason why we compromise with the city and the different organizations to be part of the designation initiative. So also partnering with youth initiatives with 4-H, which is one of our main programming in USU Extension. That also like making our coalition strong, and also our network, and making sure that we're providing culturally appropriate support. Create Better Health does a great job at providing classes in Spanish with a curriculum that it's not just translated, but it's also culturally adapted, which is very important when it becomes when we're talking about foods. We know that not everyone eats the same food, even in between cultures or between countries, not all of us like the same thing. But it is very important to have in mind that if you are working with communities that are from other places or have other different type of foods, you have to think about that too when you're in food pantries, when you are cultivating your foods. I know vegetables are vegetables everywhere, like they're the same. A tomato probably is almost the same than in my country, in Ecuador, but how we utilize those recipes, what we cook, it's different. That's why I love the initiative that they have at the Youth Garden by providing that space to Native Americans so they can utilize and being able to eat healthy foods that are related to their culture. I don't know if you noticed that the time of cooking and the time of munch and mingle is super long, and it's because that's part of that specific culture. So that's something that we have for future goals. Our goal is, of course, to partner with a big organization like the Youth Garden and promote also our healthy gardens from Create Better Health. There are a lot of barriers, there are a lot of needs, but we really want to move forward and keep doing it. So I don't know if you have any specific questions. I think we're gonna have questions for everyone. But I just wanted to give you a highlight of what Extension is, what we have in Moab already running, and what's our future goal for these next 3 years as a designated city.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and open up to a Q&A for everybody. So if anybody has any questions, feel free just to shout them out, or you can shoot them in the chat as well.
Maria, do you guys fence in your community garden? Is it fenced?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Is your community garden fenced in?
Fence, you mean?
Yeah, like enclosed?
It's actually there is some open space there. That's why I was those were my questions when I went to the youth garden. Like it's open to everyone, so there is like a fence, but there is access. You can access to it.
We had an issue with vandalism in ours quite a bit because ours was not fenced, and so we had a lot of issues with vandalism. And the deer a little bit, but more vandalism than we did the deer.
And I think that's what I mentioned, that it depends a lot on the community. And I can, of course, put the emails of the main leaders of the youth garden so they can respond some of those specific questions about placement of the gardens, because I know they have new land to put to work with these new initiatives that they have with the Moab Community Gardens. So I bet they have been through all those barriers and have been able to identify what they can do. But I think it also depends on your city, right? Our city is super small and it's community-based city. So almost everyone knows each other. And probably that's not a barrier that we probably have. So, but yeah, I will put the information of Emily and everyone that is working in the youth garden in the chat so you can ask those very specific questions.
I can answer this question on the chat. Somebody asked, who do we have come to our city to talk about taking care of our trees? At each of our offerings, so we offer one in the spring and one in the fall. We actually have members of our tree board there, and we have 3 members of our tree board that are actually licensed arborists. And so they bring information to disseminate, and then they also demonstrate proper planting of a tree and proper care of the tree. So we'll continue doing that at each of our offerings. And our fall offering now is always going to be fruit trees. So we'll make sure that we always have somebody there to explain the proper start of a fruit tree. Because that's the key with a fruit tree, is just getting it started correctly.
Any other questions anybody might have? Oh, got one in the chat here. Is this community garden water through city irrigation, or is it using culinary city water?
So for the youth garden, those specific questions, I put the email of Emily there because those are more specific questions that I will have her to answer. Sorry.
We would also like to open up this time for anybody else to share any of their ideas in their community. If they have any cool ways for access to healthy food as well. So feel free to either shout those out or drop those in the chat as well.
Yeah, I'll kind of share one of the things that we do. Our seniors are really good about feeding seniors who aren't able to get out of their homes. And so we kind of have like a system where I'm not exactly 100% sure what it's called, but certain people will bring food that they're not going to use from their pantry, and they'll bring it to the city hall, and then other seniors will take that food to the specific people that are listed, that they have said they needed food. And so it's almost kind of like hey, I don't need this food in my pantry anymore, and other people might need it. So it's a way more need by need basis, which is kind of interesting. But I am curious about like doing a community garden type of a thing in our city. We don't have like I guess off the top of my head, I'm like, I don't think we have a park or a place where we could just throw up a garden, And so like I'm just curious to see like, okay, how do you like at least from what I gathered from what you had said, even Darwin, right? Of like, is it you just say, hey, we as a city bought X amount of trees and we want them planted in your yards, right? Is that like what you're saying? Like you give them to the community to garden those, or how does that exactly work?
So with our tree offering, yes, but we are actually going to have an actual urban orchard location that will be owned on, or that will be located on one of the city parks. so we have several pieces of property that have not been developed that were set aside for future growth of the city as a park. The issue with some of those is we just don't have water at those locations yet because a lot of the water infrastructure that's in your street was not put in by your city municipal. Well, at the time it was put in by the contractor, the developer. So some of our pieces of property that we own are just in locations where there's just no irrigation, there's no culinary water there yet, there's no electricity. And so we're just trying to identify a park on our already, I guess, developed park structure where we can put this where we know it's not going to be changed out with another plan. Because I mean, an orchard, that's a lifetime commitment. I mean, it's 20 years to get the thing fully developed to where the thing's producing, you know, at its prime, and then at that point you're going to little by little start replacing trees. So this is something once you get established, you're not moving it. And just to validate what you're saying, that's the issue we're having with replacing our community garden is finding the proper place to do that so that we have the water that we need to be able to do it, the location, the soil content. I have tons of places that are old. When the mine moved out of Tooele City, they donated all the mining, the railroad museum, all the property that went with it to the city. The unfortunate reality is you couldn't grow a garden on there if your life depended on it.
Yeah, and I think just to jump in on finding community garden space, we've seen other cities and towns just try to look at other partners, you know, if it's not city land, that the city owns, looking at other partners that might be in your community, you know, churches or schools that might have space and are willing to look at locations for community gardens as well. So I think, you know, seeing what other partnerships could exist that would help support community garden and space.
Oh, and if I can jump in on that, thank you for sharing that because so we did have an agreement worked out with Utah State that they had a piece of property next to their campus that they were going to allow our community garden to be planted there. What ended up happening is they got a new president and in that process some funding was rearranged. So a project that wasn't even on the back burner became the front burner, and they decided to use that ground for that project. However, we have reached out to one of the local churches here that in the process of development and other roads and stuff that were dedicated, they ended up with a piece of property that they were originally going to build a church on that became too small to build a church on, and so now we're trying to, it's just this little weird piece of property in the middle of this neighborhood that we're trying to figure out a way with them that it can be feasible for them to either dedicate it to us or at least let the city use it to put a community garden on. And at that place we do have water and it's plantable soil.
Do we have any other questions or comments that anyone would like to make? If not, we do have a survey. I'm not sure if anyone saw Alicia drop it in the chat. There we go. There's another one. We'd just like to ask you guys to take this survey. Would greatly appreciate it. And we want to thank Darwin and Maria Jose today for sharing all their expertise. If there are no further questions, then guess we can end it here. And once again, thank you so much to our speakers. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.